Welcome to the unpredictable wilds of the Ganur constellation, the rough southwestern low-sec frontier of Placid. We have but one cobbled-together catalyst and one stripped-down Atron to our name, but we have a firm hold of our bootstraps and we are on our way up. Now this fit is going to do a lot less damage than Carmela did, partly because we've only got Tech 1 guns and all light ion blasters, whereas Carmela had a meta guns and a good mix of the higher level neutron blasters. Also, we have no mag stabs. But in fact, I feel like the cobbled together version of the ship we've got should actually be able to do pretty well. The polycarb and the two nanofibers, which I wouldn't have chosen for a catalyst, give us quite a bit of base speed, and in a way that makes up for the fact that we don't have a web. So here we are, a 950,000-isk battleship. We're going to burn in under microwarp drive power and try and get in a 500-meter orbit around it. And we're going to see if we can hold that 500-meter orbit without our prop mod on, just on the basis of our agility from our nanofibers and our polycarb. And if we can take this guy down, then we're going to be in really good shape. We'll see. I'm hoping that our shields can actually just hold off the fire from these two cruisers as well, and then we can focus on the battleship. There is somebody else in local now, so we're gonna have to keep an eye on D-scan. See, look at this. This is going really well. I know that this guy isn't shield tanked, but we're taking no damage from the battleship, holding him in this 500-meter orbit just on the basis of our natural speed and agility. And the damage we are taking from the cruisers is pretty tolerable. It's grazes, misses, glances off. Our medium shield extender is just holding tight. If we can clear this one belt, kill this one battleship, yeah, if we can kill these 3 ships, then that's already going to be 1.5 million ISK in bounty, plus whatever they drop. And I'm feeling confident, hopeful at least, this battleship will drop something that reprocesses into a fair bit of titanium, like those large ship modules usually do. Now, long term, I'm not sure that really the medium shield extender fit for a catalyst makes a ton of sense, although I might be a convert. This is working. Maybe we don't need the web. And if we run a medium shield extender on a regular basis, we could run double mag stab. This is actually pretty interesting. The peak recharge for a shield isn't until like 30%. So the fact that we're at like 48 right now is not super worrying to us. And once this battleship goes down and we rush over to get into orbit of one of these cruisers, we should be able to mitigate damage from that cruiser entirely as well. And then we'll only be taking damage from one of them. So our incoming DPS will reduce by half and our shield should be able to hold that no problem at all. I think this belt is ours. I think we can hold grid, as they say. So we zoom over. Turning on the microwarp drive for 1 cycle does increase our sig radius, but it also increases our transversal against the other guy, making us harder to hit. Perfect. Safeguard down. Over to the chief guard. Shield still holding at 40%. This one belt all by itself is going to make a big difference in terms of how tenuous our situation here in Elbrus was. 500 MN microwarp drive all by itself, that's going to let us build a ton of stuff. We are in business. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. 500 MN microwarp drive, pitfall compact warp disruption field generator. We're going to dock up. That was it. One belt. That was all it took. And we are fully back on our feet. This is Bill. Bill wants to build a Cynabal and join the Angel Cartel cause in Zarzak. But he's not making it easy on himself. Almost all of our BPOs are within reach for us now. In fact, we're already, but with just those 2 modules, we are a solid chunk of the way towards building a replacement catalyst if we lose Cassie. Now, we did go through almost our entire load of ammo. I just noticed now. We have 4 ammo left in each gun, 32 ammo left in our guns, and 40 left in our hold. Of the 1,000 that we built, we used 928 clearing that belt. But it's cleared. And we can start a whole bunch more Antimatter Charge S building right now. Okay, our mag stabs have finished building, which has increased Cassie's DPS by more than 25%, and she has a decent quantity of Antimatter Charge S in the hold now, and we have another 10,000 Antimatter Charge in the oven, and our bounty tick came in, bringing our ISK balance up over 2 million, which means we can actually afford to reprocess things, and we can even maybe buy a couple of new blueprints if we wanted to. Perhaps most importantly, we still actually have 26,000 titanium sitting in our hangar, which means that if we did lose Cassie now, we could afford to at least not build another catalyst quite yet, but we could at least afford to outfit, say, Aaron the Atron with some guns and have something else in order to rebuild with. So we're not operating completely without a net at this point. That said, we definitely do still want to build up a bit more of an ISK and titanium buffer before we do something so reckless as jumping gates out of Albrez with Cassie, being as she is our only combat capable ship in this part of space. We're going to take these 3,000 antimatter charges and we're going to head out to the belts, see if we can't get a little more resources, a little more ISK, a little more titanium, maybe some meta modules, and feel like we've really reached a level of sustain out here in Placid. But we don't want to bring in too much stuff just yet, because we're not sure if Albrez specifically is our semi-permanent home. There's a few different systems in this cluster of 0.1 systems in Placid on the edge of Syndicate that we like this space, but Albrez or Barleygoot or Ausmert, any of the 3 of those have good stations with refining and manufacturing in them, and any of the 3 of them could end up being where we settle in. For now, we're still just getting acquainted. I really feel like we're already back on our feet. We came here with not much, and it was tense there for a moment, but this feels like we're firing on almost all cylinders already. All right, 4 cruisers. Let's see how quickly we can deal with these guys. This might actually be harder for us than the 2 cruisers and a battleship we dealt with before, because it's going to be a little bit harder for us to mitigate damage from the cruisers. I am, in fact, going to manually fly in at a little bit of an angle. Micro-warp drive blooms our signature radius, making us easier to hit, but the flip side is that it lets us close distance much faster. So even though we're taking a fair bit of damage right now, we can get into our tight orbit more quickly than we would with an afterburner. And hopefully, even though we've taken off the nanofibers, hopefully the polycarbs are still giving us enough agility. Oh, maybe not. This is actually looking kind of rough for us. So, in fact, 4 cruisers is probably the worst spawn for us, it's looking like. We'll look for something with just a couple of cruisers or some frigates and destroyers or battleships. We can take out battleships. Cruisers apply too well to us. We're still learning this fit. I'm not sure if I'm going to become a micro-warp drive, medium shield extender, catalyst convert. It served us really well in that first belt we took it into, but it definitely does have its limitations. There are spots here where it's obvious that we wish that we had a web, we wish we had an afterburner, we wish we had an armor rep. But let's see. That one belt giving us trouble is not a sign that the fit is going to fail. And of course, at this point, the question of whether the micro-warp drive shield catalyst is the right fit is very much an academic one, because it remains the only fit we have. If we want to switch back to afterburner web, we're going to need to loot an afterburner and a web. So I feel like if we just bounce around the belts a little bit, pretty soon an afterburner and a web will make themselves available to us. Once we're in a position where it doesn't feel like we're just scrambling to stay alive, we're going to transition pretty quickly towards building ourselves another thorax. We really want to get back to running that higher level content, like the DED sites, that will let us bring in the ISK and hopefully dead space modules much more quickly. Also, remember, we do still need to harvest Haldari ice. So building a thorax is an absolute necessity for us at some point in this run. And we'd like to do it sooner rather than later. Okay, our guns are reloading, and this is our last reload of ammo. We have 192 antimatter charge S left in the tank, and 100 lead charge S. We'll see what else we pick up here. Okay, this is exciting. We have found an armor rep, which means switching back to an armor catalyst is now back on the table. Oh, there we go. A web and another compact disruption field generator. Two things that we were very much looking for. Our short-term goal is to achieve a sense of stability. Now, what does that stability look like? It's, you know, there's room for interpretation. What will feel stable to me, what will feel like we're not, you know, walking a tightrope out here in Placid, will be if we have 10 million ISK in the bank and we have enough titanium to build 2 replacement catalysts. Once we're in that situation, I won't feel like losing Cassie sets us back. I'll feel like we can take risks, like we can fly around, live our lives, and start approaching our larger goals. So we can just pull out the things that we want to keep and reprocess everything else from our hold. This stuff we can reprocess, and it will get us 52,000 titanium. All right. Our ISK balance is 5 million, and remember I said 10 million is our comfort level. That's arbitrary, but I still feel like that's about right. So we're halfway there on the ISK front, and I said similarly, I'll feel comfortable with our mineral supplies once we can build 2 replacement catalysts. And we can build one. Oh, we can't even quite build one. We need 160,000 titanium to build 2 catalysts, and we have 79,000. We've got all of the pyrite, mexilon, and isogen that we need. So, on both titanium and ISK, we are halfway to the comfort zone. Halfway. Status update on Cassie's fit. This micro warp drive medium shield extender fit has actually been working reasonably well for us, but we have now picked up a small armor repairer and a web, which is making it almost viable to go back to the old Carmella style fit we were using before. The reasons that we might want to do that are mostly related to damage mitigation. The medium shield extender gives us a nice big damage buffer, but for a lot of the more difficult enemies we're fighting, we don't want to be taking damage really at all. The shield extender also increases, it blooms our signature radius, making us easier to hit. And the micro warp drive, while it's active, does the exact same thing. Whereas when we're using an afterburner and an armor rep, we're quite a bit smaller, we're a harder target, and when we're in close with the afterburner on, we're a moving target. So we could put on the web and the armor rep now and go web, armor rep, micro warp drive, but the downside to that is on the approach with the MWD, our signature is going to be big, and we won't have the buffer of the shield extender. So we're in danger of getting popped as we try and get in close to things like battleships. Also, we can't perma-run the micro warp drive. It's too cap intensive. You can see here we deplete in 2 minutes and 40. And if we're trying to run an armor rep at the same time, it's going to deplete even faster. In fact, the micro warp drive limits our armor rep ability even when it's not running because it reduces our total amount of cap just by fitting it. So I don't think we want to go armor rep web until we get small afterburner. The other thing I've been thinking about is that we put this ancillary current router rig on Cassie to increase our power grid to allow us to fit the medium shield extender. But then I was thinking on Carmella, we never could quite fit a full rack of neutron blasters because of power grid concerns. And if we go AB armor rep web on Cassie and keep the ACR, we in fact will be able to fit a full rack of neutron blasters. Now we have found 1 meta neutron blaster already, and I have put in the build queue another 7. So this is our plan. Find a 1MN afterburner, build 7 light neutron blaster 1s, and go AB, web, armor rep, full rack of blasters. I'll feel very good about that. We've also built a whole bunch more ammo. It's nice to be in a position where we're not like using up all of our ammo and waiting for the next batch to build anymore. However, building those blasters and that ammo has brought our titanium reserves down to 36,000, which is a long way from our 160,000 safety net goal, although our ISK is now up to 6 million. So we gotta get back on the belts, we gotta kill some stuff, and hopefully bring in a 1 MN afterburner and 120,000 titanium. Let's go. Oh, the station has gone invisible. I have had to reinstall the game because of the new launcher, and I've updated my settings, but it seems like this new install is freaking out a little bit. But I think now we can safely go into the belts. $500 MN, that's gonna help a lot. It's a bunch of minerals right there. Woo! Oh, look at that! Alright. We do not want to bother these guys, I will tell you that much. And that's our 160,000 titanium goal already met. Wow. Wow. Lucky. Now it's all about the bounties. And where the heck is my 1MN afterburner? The most dangerous thing we could encounter in a belt right now is actually a clone soldier. I don't think that this fit can kill a clone soldier. It's got the DPS to do it, but clone soldiers are fast, and we don't have a web, right? So usually with the clone soldiers, we'll be getting in close and then getting under their guns. But with this fit, if we fly in on a clone soldier, then as soon as we get close, it's going to start pulling away from us again, get good tracking on us, and just take us out. And we won't be able to stay easily in blaster range. And the 0.1 security status clone soldiers have warp disruptors. So if we do land on a clone soldier with this fit, what we're going to have to do is use our micro warp drive to burn out of warp disrupt range and then warp off. That is a big part of the reason, though, that I'm eager to switch back to the afterburner and web fit. Oh, we just got a bounty tick. 4 million ISK. We're now at 9,987,856 ISK. Like 12,000 short of our goal. We're gonna do a little bit more ratting, and if we kill, oh my goodness! ISK goal virtually hit. Kill one more rat, even a frigate, get the bounty from that, and we're good. And now we have got over 160,000 titaniums worth of modules in our hold right now alone. Safety net fully achieved, as long as you don't die before we dock up. All right. 5 destroyers and frigates. One of these guys is going to give me an afterburner. They'd friggin' better. Apprentice infantry, afterburner, no. Apprentice safeguard, afterburner, no. Apprentice protector, afterburner, no. Apprentice soldier, afterburner, no. Oh my goodness. Apprentice sentinel, last chance, afterburner, no. All right, next belt. Here we go. This is the afterburner buffet. There we go. 4.3 million ISK bounty. We are officially actually over 10 million, and with a pretty good buffer to spare. 14.3 million ISK bounty. We've got a Pitfall Hector Point, a Stasis Grappler, and a 500 MN micro warp drive in our hold, so we've once again made a killing in terms of titanium. But we still haven't found an afterburner. Our hold is basically full, so we're going to kill this last set of belt rats and then dock up and reevaluate. Status update. We have, in terms of titanium, 99,000, and on top of that, we've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4 of these, 1 of these, a couple of these. We're not reprocessing them yet because they're so portable right now. But if we did reprocess them, 190,000 titanium right there. We were talking about being able to build 2 backup catalysts, and we can easily build 3 right now. I think maybe 4. We are in good shape. But there is one problem. This is what we want. Look at this. Full rack of neutron blasters in the high. It's beautiful. There's plenty of room. There's plenty of room in this fit for an afterburner. We just haven't looted one yet. I really think we can just go frigate hunting and get ourselves a 1MN afterburner. I also think it's well past time that we do a little neighborhood tour of these nearby 0.1 systems and sort of scope out where the action is and see if maybe a system like Barleygoot or Ausmert might not actually be where we want to settle in while we're still relatively mobile. Now, if we're flying around all this space where we don't know really what the local situation is like, we don't know if we're jumping into gate camps, we don't know if the people in these systems are going to be hunting us. It's pretty dangerous. And we could do it. We could do it in Cassie. The whole purpose of this safety net building has been so that we don't have to be terrified of losing Cassie. But if what we're trying to kill is frigates, and what we're most concerned about is safely jumping gates, we don't need a catalyst. Why don't we just fit up Aaron? So here's the thing. We've taken the ion blasters off of Cassie to make room for the neutron blasters we built, which means we've got a whole bunch of spare blasters ready to go on to Aaron. 1, 2, 3. We've taken the shield extender off of Cassie, back on Aaron. We can put on Magstab. Perfect. But then, here's the trick. If we try and put our 5MN back on, we need 14 power units. Only 3 are remaining. Aaron can fit a medium shield extender and a micro warp drive, but he can't do it while also fitting guns. But I noticed there is a blueprint for sale in this system. It's a bit pricey, but I've wanted to have it for a real long time because it opens up so many options for us. We are going to buy Micro Auxiliary Power Core 1 Blueprint, 1.5 million ISK. It's time to look at a map. I feel like I've been remiss. We moved all the way out here to Placid, and we haven't really talked about why here. This, as you might recall, is Dotlan. This is the entire region of Placid laid out in a way that is easy to read, unlike the virtually useless in-game map. Down in the sort of middle bottom left, you see this black circle around the system of Albrez. That's where we are right now. When I was thinking about where we wanted to relocate to, there were a couple of different criteria. It would have been nice, it would have been interesting to relocate out to, say, Garista's space. But in the long term, if we remember the things that we're going to need to collect on the way to building our Cynabal, Caldari Ice is one thing. But the biggest challenge yet ahead of us, aside from maybe Ninja Moon mining, is going to be collecting the 500 million ISK that it takes for us to buy all of our Blueprint Originals and reaction formulas. So we really wanted our new home to be somewhere where we were going to be able to just grind out ISK. And with the ships that we've trained into, that's going to mean, ideally, killing Serpentis. Not to mention that Serpentis rats seem to really disproportionately love dropping those warp disruption field generators that make our bootstrap process so much easier. So if we can find Serpentis space, ideally low trafficked, so the bounty multipliers are higher, and ideally very low security rating so that we get the higher bounty rats, that's where we're going to be able to bring in all that ISK. And look at this. Within 3 jumps from where we are right now, there are 8 0.1 systems, 2 0.2 systems, and a nullsec system. And this entrance to TXW TAC and Syndicate, this is a low traffic nullsec border. We can actually dip over into nullsec here and kill rats over there, or do whatever else we might want to do in nullsec relatively easily. The other nice thing about Placid is how well connected it is. We've already talked about how we can get out to Syndicate nullsec quite easily, and also we can get down very easily into Solitude, which is like a ghost town of low-sec systems that could be quite valuable to us. But up in the north end of Placid, there's also several different connections over to Blackrise, which is a Kaldari low-sec region. There's also connections out to Cloudring and Pureblind, as well as a direct connection to Zarzak. And then if we go through Stackmon into Idart in Verge Vendor, that's actually very central in the high-sec map, so we can get to other areas of space pretty easily in about 15 jumps. Of course, the downside of space being so well connected is that often means it's also very well trafficked. But fortunately, this little pocket we're occupying down here in the bottom left of Placid seems to be largely immune to that. So on the way out here, I talked about how Stackmon, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps away, is the home system of Eve University, and so it's very high traffic. And Ostengel, next door, just north of Stackmon, is in faction warfare space, and it's also very high traffic, partially because of just faction warfare conflict, but also because Ostengel is a huge bottleneck system. As you can see here, to get from one side of Placid to the other, you have to go through Ostengel. So we don't want to be living too close to Ostengel, we don't want to be living too close to Stackmon, because the violence inherent in those two systems spreads. 5 jumps from Stackmon, 4 jumps from Ostengel, that's a little bit of a buffer. But when we set our autopilot out here, I was actually not targeting Elbrus. I was targeting Ausmert, 2 jumps away. And I'll tell you why. In this sort of far southwest corner of Placid, there are a bunch of systems that could potentially be our home, but there's one thing in particular that we need from them. We need a system that has manufacturing. And you can see each of these systems with a station in it has a little square. And that square has 4 quadrants that are either white or colored in. The red quadrant means refining, which basically every station has. The yellow is industry, which is what we're particularly looking for. And then the blue and green are research and cloning, which we also would like to have access to, but we don't mind if we have to jump 1 jump or 2 jumps to get access to research and cloning. So in this pocket, the 4 systems that can provide us with industry are Ausmert, Barligout, Barlijouet, Barligout, Ausmert, Barligout, Elbrus, and Gare. Barligout is 1 jump further from Stackmon and Ostengel, and Ausmert is 1 jump further still. So Ausmert seemed like the obvious choice, but what we really want to know is how trafficked these systems actually are. How violent are they? How many people are living in them? How many people are passing through them? We can answer those questions with the different data overlays that Dotlan offers. So right now we're looking at the security status. We see they're all 0.1. Let's look and see how much PvP there has been in them in the last 24 hours. The number of jumps in system. NPC kills every 24 hours. When we were living over in Minar, both the NPC kills per 24 hours and the jumps per 24 hours were generally hovering at around 700. So this area of space is about as active as Minar was. The other thing to consider right now is you see how Gare, Aunsuk, Kumimar, Alperaut, Rainier, and Payne are all highlighted in yellow? That's because there's an active incursion in those systems. Now that'll be driving up player activity to some degree as players come to try and farm the incursion, but it also makes those systems, as we saw, dangerous to travel through. So Elbrus right now is probably experiencing a bit of an artificial lull in activity. Statistics aside, if I can put myself in the head of someone who lives in Stackmon or Ostengel who might roam out in this direction, I can imagine them coming out through Aunsu, through Gare, through Elbrus to Barligout, and then you turn around. That logic is why I was thinking SMUT might be long-term the place that we want to live. Now, realistically, if we're living in any of these three systems, we're going to be roaming in the same area. So the other piece of information that's worth considering to us is how rich the specific system that we're living in is in resources and opportunities, because that means that we can do a lot of things we want to do without jumping out of system at all. And in that regard, Albras is pretty appealing. It's got all these stations, Federation Navy, Concord stations where we can sell clone soldier tags and overseer effects, as well as Aliastra, Imperial, Impro. So a bunch of different corporations which will sell different blueprints. And it's got 27 asteroid belts. We've already seen how useful that is for us. We've got almost limitless belt ratting available to us right here in this system. If Albras stays quiet, I'm really starting to become convinced that it might actually be our ideal long-term home. I look at these stats on Dotlan a lot, and in fact, when I was deciding to move out here, I spent so much time looking at every low-sec region in the game, cycling through these filters and trying to find a place that had the mix of things that I wanted. And if you're looking for a new home at any point, I recommend you do the same. You can get a really good sense of activity in New Eden just using Dotlan, using these different filters, and eventually, if you look hard enough, you will find something that meets your needs. Of course, inspecting all of this through Dotlan is one thing. Actually seeing what the situation's like on the ground can be a whole other kettle of fish. So let's go for a little roam. In this, we've built our micro auxiliary power core, and now Aaron is fully fit out with 3 blasters, shield extender, micro warp drive, web, and mag stab. Our DPS is 90, which is less than half of what Cassie's is, but we are so fast, we are so nimble, we can easily jet around quite safely in this area of 0.1 space, see where the danger lies, and not be really worried at all that we're going to get caught up in it. So Aaron, let's go shoot some stuff, and maybe we'll finally pick up a 1MN afterburner along the way. Aaron's first flight is a combat Atron, and you'll notice he's put on some shiny new threads for the occasion. Let's go hunt some frigates and scope out some 0.1 space. So Barligoot already is looking a lot more active and scary than Albras has. There's only 6 people in local, but one of them's out in space in a Punisher and the other one's in a Kikimora. There's a refuge here, a couple of refuges, which is tempting. This Atron fit, what we have on Aaron right now, can actually permanently run its micro warp drive and its web while firing its blasters. So when we're not worried about signature radius, as we aren't when we're fighting frigates, we can just be zooming in under micro warp drive power against everybody. And because of how agile the Atron is, we don't even have to worry about the usual micro warp drive problem of flying past them and then having to like ping pong back and forth. We can fly into a tight orbit and hold it. This is definitely slower than taking out a refuge is in Carmela or presumably Cassie. It doesn't look like it's any trouble for us though. It does look like Aaron is more than capable of the job. Oh, Shadow Serpentis Trooper! What a lucky turn of events. Well, it's not the best loot I've ever seen, but we're not in a position to be picky right now. When that Shadow Serpentis Destroyer spawned, I was imagining in my mind, I was trying to manifest the Faction 1MN Afterburner. Alas. Alas. Okay, so Barligoot has, perhaps unsurprisingly, because it is this crossroad system, it's had a fair bit of traffic in the short time we've been here, in just 10 minutes. You can't draw too many conclusions. But a lot of people passing through, not a lot of people sticking around, it doesn't seem like. So based on this one very brief essay, I feel like Barligoot is still a decent candidate. Now let's check out SMUT, the place we were originally planning to go. Based on what I saw on Dotlan over the last couple of weeks, I really was narrowing in on SMUT. And here it is, completely empty. That is a good sign. There's a refuge system. Frigates everywhere, nor any afterburner to loot. I feel like we've gotten the vibe of House Merit. Let's check out Kennick. Minmatar diamond rats, which we'll need to be very careful of at the belts, because we are hostile to Minmatar, being members of the Malachim Zealots. And this is an Edencom system. Yeah, Kennick does not look very welcoming to us. Okay, Vestuve has a couple of people in it. No combat anomalies, which makes me wonder if these people have been actively ratting. Elite frigates. Surely these guys run afterburners. Oh, they might just kill us. Oh no, I think we've got this. Got this well in hand. One of these guys does not have an afterburner. I'm going to be quite put out. Alright, we'll check out Esbriger. Little dead end system. The appendix of Placid right next to Syndicate. I have a feeling that a little dead end system like this is actually one where low-sec corps are going to live, in the hopes that they can control that little pocket all to themselves. So I wouldn't be surprised if, perhaps unintuitively, the system actually is generally busier than, say, Vestuve. There's only one person in here right now, but again, all of the anomalies have been run, and most of the signatures have been scanned down. So this definitely has the feeling of a system that is farmed. We'll bounce a couple of belts just to check it out. But there's 4 small-sized rats here at this belt, so that's convenient for us. That is the complete tour of the Ganur constellation in Placid, and our hold is full, so we are heading back to Albres, which I've come to believe is in fact where we're going to settle in. I feel pretty good about our ability to move around this area freely. I think we'll be happy in Albres. Our safety net is in place. Cassie is replaceable to us now. And we've gone out in Erin and we've taken a survey of the whole neighborhood and found so much content that we would love to take Cassie out and engage with. But we still haven't found a 1MN afterburner. Our fit still isn't complete. This seems crazy to me. I feel like 1MNs were dropping like autumn leaves on us in every shore. But no matter how many frigates we kill, we can't seem to find a single one. But there is another way. 1MN Afterburner 1 Blueprint, 64,500 ISK. Much better. This is what a low-sec belt-ratting catalyst menace looks like. Cassie, let's go out there and give Placid a proper hello. There it is. We run 2 refuges in Cassie, and we get the 1MN monopropellant enduring afterburner. It was inevitable. It's good to be back in our AAA catalyst fit. We are fully back in business. Boots strapped. Okay, we fit our shiny new 1MN monopropellant enduring afterburner, and we're gonna pop our heads into Solitude and see what's up. Our catalyst has gone invisible again. Hopefully that will help us sneak through any gate camps that we might encounter. Oh, our stealth wore off. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Our first hideaway in Solitude, and we get a Shadow Serpentis Watchman spawn, and also another DD 3 of 10. we're gonna need to put some railguns on Cassie. So I'm flying back to Albraz, super excited to build some railguns, put them on Cassie, and go run this Serpentis DED 3 out of 10. Also pretty excited about this Shadow Serpentis multi-spectrum coating we picked up, which I realized we actually can swap in for our damage control and get better performance out of our armor rep. And it occurred to me I should probably check and see where that Serpentis warehouse spawned. Where is that DED 3 out of 10 that we just triggered? Guys? It's in Albraz.